All right. Cool. Okay. Thanks. Oh, okay, great. We're here. I was just talking to my producer. My producer's a dog. This podcast is going to the dogs. Woo woo. I don't know why I did that, but I don't know. Somewhere in a mall or on Shoppers or something, someone will come up to me and be like, "Did you bark on TV? Is that what this is coming to?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, my podcast is going to the dogs. Meow." And they're like, "Did you just meow at me?" I'd be like, "Yeah, cats. Scram. Skedaddle." Anyway, enough of that. That's silliness. You want seriousness. You want like hard hitting journalism. Sorry, we don't do that. Anyway, this week's guest on this show, we try to get a little bit more diverse, a little bit more than just the again celebrities that you know or you don't know. So we went outside Canada, right? This time we went outside Canada. We've got two on from the U.S., one from the U.K. They're all here together. They created a band called Raynes. I think it's a very interesting story of how this band came together. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about their latest song and how COVID almost caused a big thorn or a big riff between the band. Not in a serious way. It's just that one had to go to the UK. They're trying to come out with music. Do you come out with music in a pandemic? That's still a question I feel like people are debating of like, God, you're so selfish. Why would you come out with music? And everyone's like dying. And there's another side that's like, oh my God, like there's no new shows. There's nothing. What am I looking forward to? We get into that. Yeah, that's all I really got to say. So, well, for now anyway, you'll hear more. Oh, man, my words today. You'll hear more from me in this episode, but don't just tune me out. Just shh on me and listen to them because they're the real stars here. Welcome you guys, number one, to the podcast, Tobin tonight. I am here in Canada. I know you guys have all different backgrounds. One from UK, two from the States. We'll get into a little bit about the story there, but this is the hard-hitting question I want to start with. Dunkaroos. Do you know what Dunkaroos are?
Absolutely. I love Dunkaroos.
I've never had them.
Is it like,
obsessed. Hang on, is it like a little breadstick you dunk in? Oh, no, it's not. What is it?
It's like a cookie that has like a rainbow kind of cream to it. Like think of it like a cake almost. The icing is like cake icing, and it's like a stick, like I don't know, like a cracker. But I grew up on these, and then I found that they were in our Sobeys, and I was like, yes, immediately buying these.
I like the chocolate Dunkaroos.
Chocolate ones are good as well. I had these hidden in my room because I knew my niece and nephew would like them, and we just dropped her off to dance, and she was like, Brian, and I was like, yeah, Mal. She was like, where'd you get the Dunkaroos to? I was like, didn't hide them well enough. And then I told her, and then I was like, you could have taken, like in my mind, because we're already left the house. We're not going back. I was like, oh, Molly, you could have taken one. But if she had to take one, I would have been like, you brat. You bring that back. Yeah. But have you guys have you guys been to Canada at all?
Yeah. Well, you haven't been, have you?
I've been to Montreal Airport. That's as
okay.
Okay. In Canada as I've ever been.
So no.
I could tell you're from. I mean, I knew already, but I could tell once you started talking, you are a true Canadian.
Yes. Is it the accent?
Just there's a few little inflections, like when you say like out and stuff. There's a bit more of a out,
That's fair.
I mean, him and I are from North Dakota. He doesn't count because he doesn't really have an accent. But when I'm home, my accent really starts flying.
Tell me a little bit about how you formed this band. I know you had mentioned it, but two of you are from North Dakota. Now, judging a little bit of the bio, I think you have probably a more interesting story than this guy just thought I was really cool and he was like, yeah, I want to hang out with you. Because that sounds lame to me, man. If I went up to someone in university and said, hey, you look cool, they'd be like, get the out of here, dweeb.
Okay. He had been living in like LA and then Phoenix, and he decided he wanted to go back to college. So he transferred to a university in our home state of North Dakota. And I saw this dude who looked dope. And I'm a pretty outgoing guy, and I was like, I got to introduce myself. Like we just had this vibe that drew me towards him, which not a lot of people, I guess, did. And I went up to him, and I'm pretty sure I talked in a Matthew McConaughey accent, which at the time I thought it'd be charming. Not at all. And flash forward, that was the initial like contact that we had. We didn't really hang out until a couple years later, and something was bringing us together. I don't know what that was, but it was bringing us together, and we started doing some music together. I guess you could say jamming, even though we both did not like to jam. I was not the jamming type. You weren't either.
I'm not. Yeah.
Matt had been writing songs for at that time about 13 years. This was in the end of end of 2015, beginning of 2016, and we started going out to LA and kind of getting on the scene in that way. And we wanted to really take this music project further. And we didn't have a beautiful, handsome lead singer yet. And we both can sing, but not like you need to. And take it from here.
Yeah, well, so yeah, that is exactly what happened. And to be honest, bro, I was like, when Joe came up and introduced himself, I was a little bit like, who is this person? Like, why are you doing this? But yeah, like Joe said, yeah, we started, playing together, and then needed a singer who was better than Joe and myself. So this is the weirdest part of the story, is just that, I mean, we were like just looking for a needle in a haystack, right? Because like we had no idea if the person we wanted even like existed. But after, what was it, Joe, like a month or so, looking through like Instagram, Craigslist ads, just like, band musician pages and all this stuff, I actually scrolled across a video of Mark playing like a cover it was like on some vocal feature page. And I showed Joe right away, and I was like, this guy is perfect. Like, he's ideal for, what we want. But he was in England. So I was trying not to get my hopes up, but I messaged Mark, and I, kind of explained the situation. And he got back to me right away and was like, yeah, I'm interested.
Wow.
But I actually was like, well, you double texted me because I didn't respond.
I did. Yeah, so my side of the story is I'm over in the UK doing music on my own, and I'm from the northeast of England, a place called Durham.
Okay.
I was studying at the time, but I've always did music most of my adult life at least. And then I was just playing shows all across the country, just playing in bars and pubs, and doing the whole solo singer conquest. And then I always wanted to be in a band, but that opportunity never really presented itself for one reason or another. And then I was posting stuff on my own social media, as every budding singer does. And then, I suppose one of my videos have been featured on this vocal feature page, and the guys stumbled across it, which is still, every time we tell someone this story, it still amazes me and us that even happened in the first place. What are the chances? And then for it to work out is even slimmer. So they literally, Matt texted me, like you just said, and I was really keen. I was like, yeah, this sounds great. Probably naively keen. I was like, this could be literally anyone trying to get me on a plane to America. But but no, I was really excited, and then so excited that I actually, Matt ignored my first message. So I sent him another video that I had done and was like, hey, still here. Still interested. And then Matt finally responded, and then we jumped on a phone call. We all just kind of chatted for a while about primarily what you guys had already done and what was happening around the band already. And I got even more excited, and I think that put any fears of this being a waste of time to one side quite quickly. It was like, okay, they got at the time a publishing deal on the table, and they're talking to this person, and they're doing this, and they have all these songs already. So it felt like a real opportunity at that point. And then I literally, within about 10 days of that first intro, these guys booked me on a plane to LA, and that was it. And look, being from the UK and being in a band with two guys from the US, a lot of paperwork, as you can imagine. But we've managed to navigate that recently, which has been great. And it's part of the story. And I think it's it's made us be able to play shows in the UK primarily. And, you know, these guys have traveled and we've been all over the place. So whilst it's been difficult not being together all the time, and COVID obviously happened, so that was like 2 years apart, which really sucked. Been worth it, and I wouldn't have done it any other way.
I like that you say like on this, obviously, because like people will see that it sucked, but I'm sure there's a part of you that was just like, yes, I get to leave, and they're probably like, yes, we get to do things like, you know, we get to,
We had a very
now like the music side hurt, but then there's a personal side where it's just like, guess what? Now we can mock him because he's no longer here. And then when you go back home, you're like,
Oh,
this is
trust me,
how
I
they
get-
talk over there.
I get mocked all the time when I'm in the room. Don't you worry.
I want to ask you, because of course, going into COVID, and like you said about the 2 years apart, like I know speaking to other bands and other acts, like it's a hard time because there are people trying to do Instagram Live. There's the dilemma of like, okay, we're kind of in a pandemic. It's not always about me, but it's like, well, how are you making money? Like, how are you going to keep the band going? Some people go on hiatus. Like, tell me that whole mindset, because, you know, he's gone. You two are still trying to figure out your end of the deal here. So like, how did you make it work? Because I believe you did do kind of an EP where you just kind of sampled, like all during different parts of the world sampled together. But was there a point in time where you sat there and like what are we doing?
Well, yeah, that's a really good question. I think the first answer is just like, yeah, because we know a lot of artists and bands too, who, you know, sort of like didn't make it through the pandemic, right? Like they broke up, or they kind of, you know, reevaluated and went a different direction. But for us, like, there was never a question of like, is this going to continue? You know, we were just like, we have to kind of weather this particular storm. And obviously no one, you know, knew how it was going to end, or like how long it was going to take. But yeah, it was almost 2 years that we didn't see Mark. And the issue with that too is like, he was in a different country and like literally not allowed to come. Whereas like I saw Joe, I mean, a couple times, not very many, but a couple times during the pandemic. And then, so that was good. And we were able to like record stuff, but yeah, there was we couldn't be with, you know, all together. So I think, you know, we thought, at the sort of, I guess, near the beginning, we were like, you know, we can do something with this still, like, even though, you know, no one, like, we can't really make any money, we can't play shows, whatever else, but, you know, we have time, like, that's the thing, everyone had time. And so we were like, why don't we just try and like release something, you know, like, what are we going to do if not that, really? Because, you know, there was no other like source of income, and we didn't have any other like plans, I guess. So we were just kind of sitting in our studios sending files back and forth for several months. And yeah, that was our big pandemic project, I guess.
But it's interesting you say about it's not all about me, because we did have that dilemma, you know, before we kind of embarked on that EP. We're like, is it insensitive to release music? Is it insensitive to try and promote something now? People are dying all over the world. There's crazy things going on. And then we just kind of had a flip of, you know, a slight change of mindset. Thought, you know, people are craving something to make them feel good more than ever. So we just thought, you know what, let's just put something out. And we didn't really have any expectations for it. And it was very much kind of not a throwaway EP, but it was, you know, mainly acoustic stuff. And we were limited to what we could record with us being in different parts of the world and stuff. But we put something together that we're pretty proud of. And, you know, someone literally got a thigh tattoo of the artwork. And we're like, okay, well, we touched a couple of people in a good way. So that was worth it.
That's when you send, like, as a PR person, because listen, that's when I come in and I'd be like, as your PR guy, super sick tattoo, Kyle. And then as soon as they respond, you're like, block them now. Like, that person got a tattoo of your album artwork. It's like, listen, they're going to come to your show and they're going to try to show it to you. And you're going to be like, please tell me it's on an elbow. It's like, no, it's on my arse. And you'd be like, I want to ask you guys a little bit about your new song. Like, tell me a little bit about it, how it came to be, and the whole process of that. Because I know when artists release new music, they're real amped up to see how it does. They're really excited to promote it. But I feel like me, when it comes out with a new episode, I'm like, oh God. I was like, I kind of hope people just like it. And they're like, I hate this host, but I love the guest. I'm like, all right, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I mean, so I think driving back home, we did. When was that? We started that.
It was June 2019. We started it.
There we go.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so like all that song and like kind of all the upcoming releases are like sort of. We've been sitting on so many songs, and we're just excited to be able to get some out there. So that one we started in LA with a guy named a producer called Mighty Mike, and he also was the guy who worked with us on on the first 3 singles, Lemon Drop and Come My Way and Second Thought, and we were just kind of, a few days like that week, I think we went over to his place and just worked on some ideas. And that one came together kind of with the basis of that like mandolin, violin sort of pizzicato riff. And we sort of workshopped it. And I think we had the bones of it. And then we had a chorus that I don't know how you guys felt about it at the time, but it wasn't doing it for me. And I was like, this is a great song, but the chorus is like really lacking and sort of ruins the whole thing. And so we left the studio, went back, and I think I woke up at 3 a.m. or something, and I was like, there's got to be a better chorus. So I scrapped the whole chorus and wrote just an entirely new one, and then I showed Mark and Joe when they woke up 5 hours later. I wake up way too early, but and they loved it. So we were like, okay, amazing. Like let's get back in the studio, cut that. And so so then we had a demo with Mike, and part of the problem, I guess, of again being a international band is like when we're not in the same place at the same time, it's hard to all be in LA with the same producer at the same time and schedule things. So with that one, I was like, well, I bet I could sort of reproduce it. So we used a lot of Mike's sort of the bones of what he had, his ideas, and then kind of just redid it, re-recorded kind of everything. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. And then we more recently, because we, even after we had a version, we kind of again sat on it for a while, and then I think we're driving either up to North Dakota or back from North Dakota or something, and we kind of had the idea to do this project as a whole, and Drive You Back Home, kind of being the first episode of this 7-episode musical miniseries that we're doing. It made sense to be the opening single, I think, and it's a bit of a different turn to what we put out in the past. I think the instrumentation is still very much us with the strings and the harmonies and the big chorus and stuff, but it's a bit darker, which we liked, and it just felt like a really good start to this project. And then we had this song, and then all the other songs besides I think 1 or 2 already existed in some format from honestly years ago. And then we just thought, if you put these together in a certain order, they actually all make sense as one cohesive story. I mean, Matt rewrote some lyrics to a few bits and pieces and stuff, but yeah, and then we just got really excited about it, and then we thought, let's just do it. And that's one thing we've been very good at kind of over the past, I'd say, year or so in particular, not really waiting for anyone, just putting our mind to it and just doing it.
Do you remember, say, the best compliment or worst compliment as a band or as an individual that you received? I bring it up because we're trying to humble people.
Yeah. No, it's always good to stay humble.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to listen, I'll toss one out and you can tell me if it's an insult or compliment. But if someone came up to me today and it's just 3 of you guys and they didn't know the history, right? I'd be like, man, look, there's Luke Combs, there's Tyler Hubbard, and there's that guy from Picture This. Is it Jimmy or Ryan? And then someone would just be like, I don't even know who you're talking about. I'd be like, okay. I'm like, I don't know if I'm insulted that you don't know those 3 names, or you're insulted that you don't know this band. Like, come on, I gotta leave. Like, what's your problem?
That's a good one. There was one. So we did a TV show in the UK back in 2021, and it was a good opportunity. It was good exposure. The TV show bombed, and it was it did not go as well. I mean, we did great. But the show itself didn't quite take off in the way that we
Man,
would like.
are you reading a review for my podcast? Because that's what it sounds like.
And then after we played, there was a bunch of Twitter comments about us, and I will say, 90% were really positive, but there was a few really funny ones. There's some saying like just a budget Mumford and Sons. That was one that really stuck with me.
I love Mumford and Sons though.
Yeah, I know. So which is kind of doubly insulting because we love Mumford and Sons and we definitely have some similarities, especially like with the instrumentation, I guess.
Yeah.
But like we're also not really Mumford and Sons whatsoever. Like we're way more pop than that. So I was like, pick a better comparison at least.
And there was one like tweet or something, and it said something about how the lead singer was just a pretty face and the other guys were like clearly doing all the work or something. And I was like, how do you?
I was like, that's absolutely true.
I was surprised that they were able to figure that out just from a TV appearance.
That's when you go back. That's when you go back in the room and then you sit down. Like you wake up early, obviously, like you say at 3 a.m. You're like, is that actually true?
That's right. Now I'm thinking about it. I'm all in my head.
I want to end it off with a fun game here of random questions. So it's from a random question generator. I have no control over this, but again, feel free to tell me to fuck off. So the first random question here is, who in the band is most likely to rage quit? Like just one day say, you guys, I'm done.
Probably
Really?
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unanimous. Yeah.
Who in the band is the most pickiest eater? Like if you go out somewhere, they're like, oh yeah, I can see that.
Listen,
He's surprised.
I'm genuinely surprised by that.
Well, Mark's not a picky eater, but Joe and I are really not picky eaters.
Yeah.
And I'm really not.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
Mark will eat anything.
I will.
We will eat anything.
Yeah.
I'll eat anything but tripe.
I'll eat tripe.
Yeah. So
There you go.
he's the least picky.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
He's not picky, but he's the pickiest.
Yeah, fair. I mean, that is fair enough.
He's gonna be up now at 3 o'clock in the morning, and go like, "Oh my god, this is how I get kicked out of the band. This is how I get kicked out." No.
Fine up octopus.
Yeah. Oh, this was not bad for a random one. Who do you think is the most likely to fall head over heels in love with a fan?
I mean, it's definitely Mark.
Probably, yeah.
Mark loves falling in love. That's his favorite thing.
He loves love.
Okay.
Love's great.
It's honestly, I love that we have that in this group.
I will be, you know what? I will keep my eyes and ears open for the next time a song comes out by Raynes and it's a little bit more sad and depressive, like, oh man, who broke his heart? Who did it?
Disclaimer, I have a lovely girlfriend who I'm very much in love with.
Good. Okay. All right. That's good. If anything bad happens, we know why. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So let's go with another random one here is, all right, this one might be up the alley. This one might be a pass, but like, who do you think spends the most hours on video games?
Probably me.
Yeah.
Probably me. I'm not like none of us are big gamers, but I mean, again, if we
play FIFA,
I play FIFA. A bit of Call of Duty every now and again. I think as well because there's probably a little bit of ADHD in all of us. I think that definitely helps because when you're in a band and you're trying to you're running your own business and you're always wearing so many hats and you're always thinking about new things and how we do this and how we do this, and it's just kind of nice to find something that switches your brain off even momentarily.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. Who is an artist that you guys would like to collaborate with or collaborate or work with?
I think we all have different answers, don't we?
Yeah.
Mine's John Mayer, for sure.
I like that.
What's yours, Joe? I'm trying to think. All of mine are like dead. Well, I guess, you know what? Kate Bush. She's still alive.
Okay.
I love her.
I'm gonna go with. Oh shoot, man! I like Ernest, who is not in the pop world really at all. He's like a country, primarily a songwriter, but he's got a really good solo project, and he's has a bunch of hits under his belt. I really like him a lot, and also really like Lainey Wilson, who is very country.
Okay.
She's got a lot of twang, but I think she's got one of the coolest. She's just one of the coolest artists right now. Those are my two picks: Lainey Wilson and Ernest.
See, this is where my Ellen moment comes in, and I just like click on the link, and then all of them just pop up on the bottom of the screen. Where it's like, oh, yeah. But except like one of you were supposed to pick like Luke Combs, and I'd be like, oh, sorry, Luke.
Yeah, sorry, we got
They didn't pick you, Luke. Oh, and then he'd be like, I'm still here. I'm still in the chat. I'd be like, oh, remove Luke. The last question I have. All right. Oh, this one's not too bad. What are some things that you think you differ on together? Like if you're all out in public and you see something or you hear something and you're like, man, like I would definitely have a different opinion on that than this guy in the band.
It's a great question.
There's definitely a few, like things we differ on. I'm just trying to think what would kind of be like a real.
Yeah, I don't know. Like they're all very like minor things. I think like food and I guess sometimes even our musical like opinions are pretty similar. Like it's rare that Mark will be like, I love this song, and I'll be like, I hate that song.
That's trash. Turn it off.
Although Matt does hate a lot of songs.
That's true.
Like he's a critic, but there's a lot of respect in that hate.
Yeah. I do my homework. I love a lot of songs.
Him and I sometimes disagree on
true.
like, but it's like it's always fun,
Yeah.
Like we'll never hate each other because of it.
that would just be like the Oasis moment where I think Matt Healy from like 1975 made a comment recently where he's like, how are you brothers? And just not at any point in your lives just go like, hey, I know we hate each other, but there's a lot of people out there that would just like to hear us. Like, no one like, and he had a great quote. He's like, no one's going to see a Liam Gallagher concert. No one's going to see a Flying whatever his band is. Like
Flying
Birds.
Yeah.
They that wouldn't rather go to an Oasis concert. And I'm like, that's a nail in the coffin right there.
Yeah.
Like
you gotta put your differences aside, guys.
But then you know what the funny thing is if both of them went on a separate podcast and they're like, we hate Matt Healy, and I'd be like, there you go, there's the common denominator.
That
like,
is what
there you go. That brings you together. And then Matt Healy would be like, I knew it would work, and I'd be like,
yes.
That's going to do it for this episode of Tobin Tonight. Our thanks to Raynes for coming on to the show. Remember, you can find past, present, and future episodes on TobinTonight.com, Spotify, and iTunes. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and leave a comment or two. For Tobin and myself, this is Jacob saying thank you for listening and good night.